with that. But
We can start off with whatever you want, Philster.
greetings, groovy gang. How are you doing? Welcome to Full Record Jacket with Phil and Ben. It is me who is called Phil. It is he who goes by the name of Ben. And Ben, I can't believe this. It's 2 weeks since we actually sat here and spoke to each other.
Well, I wasn't sat here. I was sat in the kitchen.
You were actually, yes.
And I'm now sat even lower down. I'm like a Japanese dining table because I forgot I collapsed my desk that I normally use because for storage reasons, for space, and I've been meaning to get a foldable desk so it can go flat in my conservatory out the way. I forgot about that bit. And then I thought, I've got one in the shed. So I went to the shed when I said I'm just setting up. I thought, that's all right. I've got a table. Set it up. And it turns out this table is about 1.5 feet high. So I'm sat more or less on the floor on a big beanbag. And this is the most chilled out I've been recording one of these, Phil.
Now, when you speak, can you see where your voice is peaking on your level?
What, am I really loud?
I can't quite work out whether you're distorting slightly. Or maybe
I've
a
got
bit
my
sensitive.
level set so it doesn't come out the yellow.
It's not coming out the yellow. Okay, maybe it's just me then. Maybe it's just, I don't know.
And maybe it's your old ears, Phil.
It could be. Are you closer to the mic than you normally are?
No, I'm about that far away.
Maybe okay. That's good. Well, I'm going to ask you about your weekend, but I want to start, because I can't really not mention this, I want to start with the sad news from the music world this week. The loss of Clem Burke, who, Blondie did an album called Eat to the Beat. Remember that one?
Yeah, I do.
He is the guy who gave us that beat.
He was
one of the standout drummers, really, in pop and rock history, I think. I mean, I think when you actually listen to Blondie and you pay attention to the drumming, I think it's fair to say that Clem Burke was as important to them as Ringo was to the Beatles, or John Bonham in Zeppelin, or Keith
Moon
in the Who.
They hold the rhythm, don't they? So
yeah, and it really helped to define the sound of that band. There was, the drumming did make an impression, and no one else drummed quite like him, and it helped propel those songs into a higher stratosphere, really, I think. So a bit of a shock in the music world because he kept his illness private. So I don't think anyone was really.
Yeah, I heard it on Radio X this afternoon.
And only 70. So it's another of the great musicians sadly gone. Rest in peace, Clem. So, on a happier note, Ben, you were going to go to a comedy gig and you ended up at a country gig. Can we hear the story about this, please?
Well, my partner had, but God bless her, she had bought me some tickets to what I thought was a comedy gig. I thought I was going to watch Mark Steele, and on the tickets it said Country Hits Live. And Mark Steele, if anybody's not seen him, he does his political sort of comedy at the start, which is sort of observational about what's going on and more about where he is as well, because he's obviously got his show Mark Steele's in Town, where he rips towns to shreds. And in the second half of his shows, he gets the guitar out or the piano out and he does a bit of comedy songs. So I just naturally thought I was going to see Mark Steele.
So he thought he must have called, he called it country hits because he was just being a bit sarcastic, having a bit of a laugh, and
because the country's in a state, and it was So I didn't think anything of it, and got ready. We got to the Warwick Arts Centre on Saturday. I still didn't click the fact that people were wearing cowboy hats, and Prywan said to me, "You could have made an effort," and I was like, "With what? I haven't got a cowboy hat. I've always said that anybody wearing a cowboy hat who isn't a cowboy should, maybe be shot." And so I don't own a cowboy hat because, I don't want to shoot myself. So then we're queuing up to go in through the door, and there's the merch stand selling cowboy hats. And I just thought, that's a bit odd for Mark Steele to be selling cowboy hats. Then I clocked and I was like, babe, this comedy gig, I don't think it's a comedy gig. I think it's a country gig. And Prywan was like, yeah, but it's what you wanted to go to. And I was like, I've never sent anything to do with a country gig. She said, yeah, you posted about the Warwick Arts Centre. And what she'd done, she'd gone on to the first thing that came up, which was country hits, and booked it. And so I was thinking, oh God, this is going to be terrible. Can I just say, in my defence, I was brought up on country music, and I do really like country music. But because I'd got my mind set that I was going to see comedy, I was like,
cutting edge
oh,
left-wing comedy. Yeah.
yeah. For middle-aged men, I was like, but we went in, and Prywan, God bless her again, she said, if you want, we can go home. I said, no, we're here. And you know what? It was really good. And the first half was sort of old country hits. It was a, look them up, Country Hits Live. They're on Facebook. And it was all the songs that I remember from my youth. Journeys down to Cornwall to see my granddad. My dad had this greatest country hits tape, double tape as well. And it was all the hits from there. And the second half was like more modern country. I did a couple of times, Shania Twain, Leanne Rimes, have to turn to Prywan and say, don't like this song. But overall, it was really good. And then I walked away from it and I thought, you know what? I think country music is my favourite form of music.
Oh, no,
because
okay. No, I mean...
because it's storytelling. It's always got a good chorus. And do you know what? I left work this evening, and guess what I was singing?
Was it Kenny Rogers?
It was Kenny Rogers, but which Kenny Rogers?
Was it The Gambler?
Nope. You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille. 400 children and a crop in the field. I was singing that, and I was singing it all the way home.
The question is your lovely partner, after that, is she still standing by her man?
She is still standing by her man, yeah. Yeah, so I've come to the conclusion, Phil. It was a wonderful mistake because it turned out to be a really good night, and I really enjoyed it. And Country Hits Live are very, very good. If you like country, if you just like music in general and want a good night out, go watch them. But I have come to the conclusion that I think country music is my favourite type of music.
This is fine. I've always, I'm quite happy to defend country, and of course, country has influenced some of the greatest rock music of all time. In fact, rock music partly comes from country, of course, because
music,
it mixed with rhythm and blues. It's it's not the same. It's all.
And you think of some of the songs that like Islands, in the thing, the Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton song. I mean, that's been sampled by hip hop people, and
I mean, that's kind of a Bee Gees song, really, isn't it? Islands in the Stream.
Yeah, I know.
They wrote
but if I think of that song, I think of Kenny Rogers and that song from The Bodyguard that Whitney Houston sang. Do you remember that one?
It's got a country heritage, yes. Dolly Parton.
That's got a country. Rhinestone Cowboy. What a games people play. Blanket on the Ground. Phil,
I heard all these as a kid. I heard all these as a kid as well, yeah, for sure.
I think we should restart this channel as Phil and Ben's Country Channel, and all we talk about is country music. It's my favourite type of music.
I must admit, I do lean more towards the outlaw side, so I would rather listen to
Johnny Cash,
Chris Christopherson, Waylon Jennings,
Willie Nelson.
Yeah, I like a bit of Willie.
Yeah, I've heard.
I know. How did I know?
You open the door for that one.
Walk straight in.
Left the back doors open.
Don't do that again, Ben. Don't do that again.
The Outlaws. I do. All those sort of guys. I mean, my dad was a big Slim Whitman fan as well. But Johnny Cash is what I'd go to. He's my go-to country guy.
I thought you were referring to your dad's weight for a second then, when you said my dad was a big, slim, but then you
Whitman.
said Whitman fan. Yeah, I was going to say.
He was slim, though, back in the
He
day,
was
when he
slim.
was
Well,
into his...
he's pretty slim now, isn't he? Your dad wouldn't exactly say he was overweight. So
He's a very slender man. He's 80 this year.
he keeps himself moving around, doesn't he? So
yeah, he's only a few hairs short of your hairstyle, Philster, is what I'm going to say.
It's the one to aspire to, for sure.
It definitely is. So, but yeah, no, I really enjoyed my country gig. It was really, really good. And I got my pitch. Look, just to prove to everybody that I'm not spinning, because why would you spin a lie of I've been to watch country? Bear in mind, as we've established now, Phil, country is the greatest form of music ever. But look, here we go. I'll have to zoom in so you can see it. But here we go. But there is me with the lead singer and Cowboy Man. And he sounded very, very cowboy as well.
Country Hits Live, is this basically a troupe of performers who go around touring as this package tour, basically? But they're not doing actual tributes to this. They're not dressing as Willie Nelson or Dolly Parton or whatever. They're just doing the songs, dressed in the.
They're just doing the songs. Yeah, they're
wearing
not dressed
country kind of gear on, but they're not.
He is from Nashville. The cowboy, his female counterpart. Going from her accent, she's from this country.
Okay.
She had an amazing voice. It's got to be said, and they gave you a little bit of backstory behind the songs as well before they sang them and all this sort of stuff.
So
it was really uplifting.
How many singers were there? Just a man and a woman.
Man and a woman, a drummer, bass player, lead guitar, and a bass player not a keyboardist. And I turned to Prywan halfway through the gig and went, look at the keyboardist. He looks like if Elon Musk and the comedian Rich Hall had a baby, that's what it would look like. Because he was the spitting image of those two. It was almost uncanny. So...
So this group call themselves Country Hits Live. They don't have any other name as a band.
It's Country Hits Live. Yeah, look, here we go. Here's a so there's the that's some on stage, so you can see over there. There's the bass player. He was a cool dude. This bass player guy here. He just a hat. Instantly, that makes you cool. And a 5-string bass.
Yeehaw.
Yeah, yeehaw. Go round up my buffalo. So I'm just trying to see. Well, there, you might be able to... It's not the clearest of pictures, but that is the keyboard player who does look like a cross between Elon Musk.
I can sort of see the Elon Musk thing. Who is the other guy he looks like?
Rich Hall. No, the comedian, the American comedian who looks like Mo Sislak.
Yeah,
he wears a hat just like this. When I met Rich Hall a couple of years ago, which if I could find the photo, I would... I'd put it on. He looked... In fact, I'm going to see if I can find that photo. It was from May last year. We went to see him. And he looks just like Rich Hall. Let's have a look, see if I can find it. I have taken a lot of pictures of rubbish things. I'll find the picture. We'll come back to that. I'll find the picture. I won't pad for time. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, Philster. I really, really enjoyed it. It was a really, really good night. And like I said, it's reinvigorated my love for country music. So I've actually had it on in the car today as well.
My word! So so have you had completely sort of middle of the road country all-time greatest hits, basically? That what you've been listening to?
Yeah, a bit Kenny Rogers, bit Johnny Cash.
My goodness me, yeah.
I've literally been... I'm a new man, Phil. Do you know what? I feel happier now. I don't have to worry about the complicatedness of rock and roll and, worrying about whether Radiohead are,
using enough different chords and
chord structures and all that. I just need a simple. Yeah, I'm happy. I've literally reached the pinnacle of musical heights, Phil, and I think everybody else should really put down their rock and roll, put down their hip hop, put down their blues, put down everything.
junk the jazz.
Junk, yeah. But here we go. Look, I found the picture. There's Rich Hall. See what I mean?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Like the hat and
Yeah.
everything. So there we go. Yeah. So, but yeah. Dump everything. Get into country. That's my thingy. So yeah. So what have you been listening to, Philston?
Well, I've been listening to the genre we're going to talk about in the next video, so that would kind of ruin it. So I can't really talk too much about that. Have I listened to anything else this week? I did listen to a bit of shoegaze in the car.
Oh, did you?
I listened to a playlist. I listened to. I'm only saying this because certain viewers may be impressed by me saying this. I
Would he
listened
be
to
a certain man from the southwest of England?
Who knows? I mean, I listened to Ride,
Yeah.
Chapter House, Slow Dive, Curve, My Bloody Valentine. I was quite impressed by Curve. For some reason that really chimed with me. I like the guitar
I enjoyed
sound
them
of Curve.
when we listened to them for our albums of the 90s.
Yeah, Curve was good. I didn't hate any of it. But yeah, I had that on
You
today.
didn't just dip your toe into a little bit of shoegaze there. You've gone for a full-on swim.
I'm full on swimming shoegaze.
Yeah.
No, I did yesterday. I did some moderate exercise. I wouldn't say that I did a workout. I did some moderate exercise with my a decent pair of headphones on, with my Sennheiser headphones on.
Ooh.
And I listened to 1 hour of the Beatles.
Yes.
And this was a playlist that I'd made. I made this playlist probably, I don't know, a year ago, and I hadn't ever really actually listened to it. I made a playlist of psychedelic Beatles. Okay, and I listened to that.
Please me, love you, me do.
Yeah, yesterday.
I saw her standing there.
Yeah. Do you want to know what was on it? Hang on. It's pretty
I've got a rough idea. Is Tomorrow Never Knows on there?
That was the opening track because I thought I'd start with relax,
Day in
turn
the
off
Life.
your mind,
That's
float downstream. That was the end, and I actually chose the alternate version of it. Do you remember the version on the anthology box set?
Yeah.
Well, this was the one from similar. I don't think it's exactly the same, but it's very similar to that. It doesn't have the orchestra added. It just has Mal Evans counting, but it's the first mono mix down from the Super Deluxe edition. So there's no orchestra on it, and it's the one where Paul says, "Oh shit" in the middle of it. Remember that one?
Yes. So
there's all that. So that was kind of groovy because it's like an alternate universe. I Am the Walrus. Yes, that was on there.
Strawberry Fields.
That was on there. I also went with the anthology version of Strawberry Fields, where you get the ending. The coda, the bit that fades back in at the end. You get that in full, because you hear it in full volume. And somebody says, "Calm down, we can go" at the end of it. Remember that one?
Yeah.
So I have that on there.
So you got that. Piggies? Would Piggies be classed as psychedelic?
I wouldn't have chosen it as psychedelic. Somebody could try and make the argument.
Lucy in the Sky's got to be on there then.
That was on there. Yeah.
Would you have Benefit of Mr. Kite isn't psychedelic?
It is a bit psychedelic. I didn't put it on this compilation, but I think it could count as kind of psychedelic Victoriana. Yeah.
Just trying to have a think now of other psychedelic track. Oh, it's got to be. There's got to be something off the Yellow Submarine on there, isn't there? I've already said one off of. What's on there? Fall on the Hill. That's not
Yeah,
psychedelic.
that was on there. I did have
Oh,
it on
really?
there because I had the Fool on the Hill. I had the Fool on the Hill take 4 from the anthology, which is the one where there's Ringo drumming on it.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, so Fall on the Hills on. I'm doing quite well at this game.
was that the one with the drumming on, or was that Your Mother Should Know of the drumming on? I did the Fool on the Hill. It was the alternate take, but I'm saying that because it came from the Magical Mystery Tour, and it's a little bit dreamy, isn't it? I went
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that. It's
Oh, I
not
said
full
I
on
Am the
psychedelic.
Walrus, which is obviously on there.
Yeah, that's full on psychedelic, of course. So that was on there.
Yeah. What else? What
I think,
else?
think. You said Tomorrow Never Knows. You know,
Oh,
think
number
in that
9.
area. I didn't go for number. I didn't go for Revolution 9. You could claim that's psychedelic, I guess, but I didn't go with
Yeah.
that. I'm saying really the ones I classified as psychedelic were from 1966 and 1967. They're either from those years.
So 1966, that is Revolver
Yeah,
and Sergeant Pepper and Magical Mystery Tour.
those sessions for those albums. Yeah.
I suppose it depends on your definition of psychedelic. Penny. It's Penny. Day in the Life.
Penny Lane, I think it was not on my list, but I think you could make the argument that it was psychedelic because it was a bit informed by
Yeah,
by
Day
that.
in the Life. Is that because it's
That's
got
on
that
there.
whirling?
That's the closing track. A Day in the Life is
Oh, I've
psychedelic for
already said
sure.
that. I've already said
Yeah.
that, haven't I? Day in the Life. Benefit of Mr. Kite. Oh, do you know what? My brain's gone.
Well, I'll tell you what else I had from Revolver.
Go on.
I had I'm Only Sleeping.
Oh God, yeah.
And I had the alternate version of Got to Get You Into My Life, which has got more of the
Got to
harmonies
get
on
you
it.
in.
Other songs that are psychedelic, She Said, She Said.
Really? Have you got
That's
that
pretty
there?
that's
Yeah,
pretty
I
trippy,
suppose,
isn't
yeah.
it? She said
Yeah.
that's pretty trippy.
What about with George Harrison's sitar?
Now there are some George Harrison songs on here, and these are what I thought were the most psychedelic George Harrison songs.
Go on.
So there's Only a Northern Song,
Yeah.
which is a Sergeant Pepper outtake, came out on the Yellow
Yeah.
Submarine. That's very psychedelic. And then It's All Too Much, which was done, I think, around the time of the Mystery Tour. But again, that was put onto the Yellow Submarine. But that's very psychedelic. And from the Mystery Tour, Blue Jay Way. Oh, that's trippy that's as trippy as it got, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Also, I had, what else did I have? Baby, You're a Rich Man.
Yeah.
That's pretty trippy, isn't it? And Rain, of course.
Oh, I didn't think of Rain. The B-side Paperback Writer.
Yeah, the trippier the better. So that was my.
Yeah.
I think that was all of it. So that was my hour of Beatles psychedelia. I fully recommend it on a spring afternoon.
Oh, you'll have to share that with me then.
You can't do much worse than that on a spring afternoon.
What have I'm just having a look on my Spotify to what I have been.
You can't do better. I should have said you can't do better than that on a spring afternoon. So you could do a lot worse than that on a spring afternoon.
You could do a lot
then
worse.
Listen to psychedelic Beatles.
Let's have a look. I'll tell you what I did listen to for the first time in a long time, because it's the 20. I'll give you a clue. It's the 20th anniversary this year of this album.
So 20 years ago is 2005.
Yes.
Is it the Oasis one?
It is.
Year?
Don't Believe the Truth. I listened to that, and I listened to it 3 times because I forgot what a great album that is. It sort of gets lost. The sort of last 4 albums kind of get lost in the melee, and I think they're all pretty decent standard, but I forgot what a good album it is because the songwriting's quite shared between them as well. And it's got Mucky Fingers, which I think is a brilliant track with the nice half rhyme about you get your Gun in a Paper Bag, you get your history from the Union Jack or something like that. So
yeah, I think of those last three after the Standing on the Shoulders of Giants.
yeah.
Of those last three, I probably would pick that as my favourite of those last
I
three.
think it's my favourite out of three. The others have got. I really like Dig Out Your Soul. I know it kind of showed the way that Noel Gallagher was going with his songwriting. But if anything, you can see in those last three albums, because I listened to Dig Out Your Soul as well, the improvement in Liam as a songwriter. I think you could see, I mean, he did Little James, so yeah, I listened to that. And I've got to say, it was a really good. I've forgotten what a really good album it was. So I did listen to the Liam Gallagher's last album, Come On You Know, and I forgot what a good album that was, because you forget, don't you? And then the others I'd listened to was the last Matchbox 20 album, Where Does the Light Go, which I really enjoy. A lot of people may disagree with me, but I'm a Matchbox 20 fan, so, And then last but not least was possibly my favourite, or one of my favourite albums of the noughties. And there's a few in there. Obviously, Don't Believe the Truth, Final Straw by Snow Patrol, James Blunt.
Go on.
Is The Golden Hum by Remy Zero from 2001. It's got the theme song to Smallville on it, and I really, it is one of my favourite albums of the noughties of that period. I'd say it's definitely it's definitely in my top 5, possibly in my top 3, maybe in my top 2. It's a
I
really
don't
good
know it.
album. It's a
I
very
can't
good
comment.
album. Well, they released 3 studio albums. They split up not long after this album. Like I said, they're most known for the Smallville theme song, all 51 seconds of it that they play. And it's just a really good album, a really solid album, which back then, apart from Matchbox 20, I didn't really listen to a lot of American music, because you had that sort of new wave, didn't you? Or what they've called indie landfill, didn't you? That every week there was a new indie band coming out. But I really enjoy that album, and I can put it on it's inspired a lot of lyrics that I wrote around that time as well. So very good album. So you need to go and listen to it, Philster. But then it took you almost 30 years to listen to Maybe You've Been Brainwashed Too. So,
Exactly. So it might take a bit longer
but it
for
is a
that.
very good album. Very good album. And I don't think it gets talked about enough. And I did put a request in via email to Elektra Records, or whoever owns them now, to release it for its 25th anniversary next year. And do you know what? With the pull we've got on this channel, with the millions and millions of subscribers that we have,
You can look forward to the Record Store Day special, no doubt.
oh, it's Record Store Day this week. I've got to get to Head Records in Leamington, because they're going to have copies of Time Flies on 4 vinyls by Oasis.
Great.
And I'm treating myself to it. So I've got to get to Record Store Day. I'm glad you reminded me, Phil. Everybody watching, all millions of you, do not go to Head Records in Leamington on Saturday.
To buy a compilation of all the Oasis songs you've already got and that you've already bought multiple times already, on some kind of coloured weird.
Yeah, but
vinyl.
The thing is, I'll probably get there and it's like 300 quid, because the cheapest I can find it on vinyl is about £1,000. So
I'm glad you mentioned the prices, because I'm gonna. That was one of the things I wanted to talk about this week, but I don't want to talk about. I don't know whether I should talk about it in a different show, or should we just keep this one going?
no, we'll talk about it in a different show.
We'll talk about it in a different show.
We'll be good, and we'll try and keep it around the half-hour mark. We can talk about it when we talk about the other things.
Do you think people won't watch beyond half an hour, Ben?
Well, I get bored of us after that time, Phil.
Well, last night I watched 40 minutes of Andy Edwards driving in his car. So I mean, you know, it could be. I mean, he was talking about music and stuff. A bit about music, and well, he was talking about all sorts of things. But I mean, yeah, it all depends, doesn't it?
Well, it does.
But
and
there's
then
nothing in the background here, so maybe you won't watch for 40 minutes.
Yeah, and then again, kids will watch other people playing computer games for hours on end. So
they will. So you know, would they? Will people talk about us doing the price of everything? Well, the price.
Maybe
the
people
price
should
of
comment. People should comment. We'll talk about it on another show. We'll talk about the price of records. We'll into
talk about
that.
the price of records on another one. Okay. Well, viewer, I hope you feel enlightened now after Ben's country revelation. And
like a rhinestone
not much more I can really add to that, is there? But thank you for watching. Join us again for another program in which I promise we will talk about another genre altogether. For now, bye-bye.